Hi, Davi here, and today we have a new episode in the Art of Davi YouTube channel. And today we'll be checking out the work of Dingu, a concept artist based in South Korea. For the past few days, we have been looking at the works of Kim Hee-ji, Sang Nam-lee, and now we're going to end this mini dive or exploration in this kind of style with the works of Dingu. So in his or her or in this artist's Twitter account, they also post some sketches, some behind the scenes stuff. Well, not as much as Sang Nam-lee's account, but there are a few rough sketches there, more like thumbnail explorations, compositional explorations, but it's nice to see this side of things that's not, it's not fully finished. It's a bit gritty. It's a bit more kind of real because it shows you that there is a concept design aspect to the work, because yes, as much as the illustrations are cool, they do look cool not just because of obviously the rendering technique is really high quality, but also the design. If you're rendering something that's shit or that's not as interesting, it's not going to be as impactful. So I think we do have to give these artists some credit when it comes to their design skills as well. So we'll be checking out the ArtStation page. Granted, it's a bit more finished. It's more about the illustrations, but yeah, it's still nice to see. Similar style. Oh, we do have a few sketches here, kind of initial schematics for the final piece, I think, which is this. I think this would have to be one of my favorites, and perhaps I'm going to make this the thumbnail for the video. So yeah, very very interesting design. But I think what really attracted me when it comes to this style for this specific group of artists is definitely the rendering, because it's just so high quality and it's it's attractive. And when they do this final version for their like project, it's just so full of life. I think compared to the last two, Dingu likes to I think there's a bit more saturation in their work compared to, say, Sang Nam-lee and Kim Hee-ji. Like the colors are a bit more toned down, and it's not as powerful. Like, yes, there's going to be one major accent color, but they're not as like vibrant, right? I'm not saying it's bad. It's just it's something you notice. It's a bit more simplified when it comes to the color scheme. But I think for Dingu, there's a way more, I guess, brightness and vibrancy in the rendering, in the final rendering. So maybe that's the thing that separates Dingu from the other two, Kim Hee-ji and Sang here. But yeah, so if you look at the painting techniques, the rendering technique, there's hardly any texture. Like I think it's just painted in with some basic. Is this a flat brush maybe? Yeah, it's a very classic way of doing things, but it's not as common as you would think. Like, only a few artists really go into detail when it comes to this kind of rendering style, because basically you're already in the illustration illustration realm. Like this piece is so. Let me just open image, a new tab. Look at this. It's so fine. Now, oh yeah, I think the difference also is, for example, if you look at Sang Nam-lee's work, I mentioned in the last art review that you can actually see the initial pencil strokes or the pencil drawing, and it kind of goes with the rendering. Like, it works together. Like, I don't think it would look great if you separated both. I think they just have a nice even, like they work together, and it's part of the style and the presentation. But for Dingu here, I think there's hard, like it's very difficult. Maybe you can still see it in some parts, but it's almost not as defined. I mean, yeah, it's still there, but it's a bit more painted over, I think, compared to Sang. But it's still in the same. I would still put them in the same category. Um, if we check more, yeah, I did see this in the Twitter page. But yeah, when it comes to the background, I also think if we go back to like the full portfolio, yeah, it's taking so long. Ugh. So yeah, sometimes you do see a white background, but sometimes the background is also black or dark, and or maybe it has like a basic gradient. And obviously the focus is going to be the characters, right? So it doesn't make sense to, like, you don't have to add a background. So we'll check out these specific ones too. Now this one does have way more color in it. Some design sketches here. Oh yeah, I think I've seen this in the Twitter page. So there's definitely behind every illustration or every final rendered presentable piece, there's going to be a bunch of these, and I think it shows you that whenever you do this kind of thing, you don't have to like start with one sketch and then that's going to be the final thing. Like there a lot of things need to happen beforehand. You know, the composition studies, the design iterations and such, or explorations, and all of that combined will eventually lead to something like this, which is a bit more presentable, more complete, kind of like wallpaper art where it's more finished looking, right? So yeah, again, I do see way more vibrancy or more saturation in the colors, and less of the line sketch or drawing in the beginning is being shown. It's more painted and rendered. But there is still that it doesn't look as smooth. I mean, it looks rendered, but it's not like Sakimi-chan where it's very soft. Or I think she does like to use the soft brush a lot. I think if you really zoom in, there's a bit more of that painterly effect. Although it does look more like pastel to an extent, right? If you've seen pastel paintings or soft pastel paintings, sometimes they do look that way where it's a bit more like you can see some slight texture, but it's from the brushstrokes in this case. Now this one does have a graphic element in the background, but it's still pretty basic. It's kind of a thematic element to make the this character pop out more. Oh, it reminds me of the weapon of the Jujutsu Kaisen weapon with the buff guy and I forgot their names. But you know what I mean. If you've seen the anime, it's the three it's kind of like a nunchuck, right? But it's like 3 parts. And it's a sword. Wow, super cool. And look at how it's kind of in a triangular position, and then behind it there's like a circle, and then even behind that there's like this rectangular wallpaper painting of like a traditional is it like Chinese or something background art, and it kind of works together, and it makes it more like the pose is way more solid. So it's like with the character itself, you do see like one triangle, but the heaviest part is in the bottom, right? And then in the top, it's kind of contrasted with the another triangle, but it's it concerns the weapon, right? So there's like a cross section, I think, in the midpoint here. So like it feels balanced when you look at this thing. Although I don't think you need the background, like the wallpaper art, because I think it works anyway. If you just leave the circle in, the character, and just a plain white background, I think it would still work. But yeah, I do like it. It's way more, again, if you look at the colors, it's brighter, more saturated. It's harder definitely to see the initial sketch or initial drawing. It does, again, if you zoom in just a bit here, if you zoom in just a bit. Shit, it's a bit too zoomed in, but can we control the zoom? Oh, we can. yeah, you can see the brush strokes. It's a bit small, but the brush itself does not have. It looks like it doesn't have texture, but because it's so small, and consecutive, if you zoom away, zoom away or zoom out, fuck. It does kind of create its own texture, and I think that's why it looks somewhat like a pastel painting. It also reminds me of Wei Feng a bit. I think I've done an art review of the guy before, but yeah, I think this is something that's also unique to, I guess, with the past two artists we reviewed. I think this one, or this guy's work, or this chick's work, is a bit more pastel-y, and I feel like there's some more paint overs, meaning because usually when you do a drawing, you do an underpainting and you pretty much render it that way, kind of like with Sang Nam Lee. Although I do think sometimes there are some paint overs where you paint on top of the line drawing. I think at least when it comes to Sang Nam Lee's work, the drawing is a bit more apparent. Like you could still see a lot of the initial, like it's part of the presentation, but for Dingu, it's what's different about, say, Kim Hee-ji? I think I also see some drawing there for the initial line, right? Oh yeah, I think it's bolder. If you look at Sang Nam Lee's work, it's a bit more pencil-y if you look at the line drawing, but for Kim Hee-ji, let me just yeah, the line work is a bit bolder. Is it black? I think it's darker. It's darker than, say, Sang's work a bit. It's still rendered, but I think that's what separates them both. It has like that Art Nouveau kind of effect where the outer edges are emboldened with a darker line. Okay, so we do see some differences with the specific artists. Even if they have a similar like process, there are some things that separate them and make them unique from one another, right? So oh my fuck. Now this one does have a more fuller look to it because the background is way more there's way more information there, and it looks like a classic wallpaper art. And again, it does have, eventually, as you zoom out, you do see that pastel kind of look, and I do see way more vibrancy, way more colors. Not just the vibrancy or saturation, but there's way more of a range of hues involved, compared to, say, the last two artists. I think Dingu is the more painterly of the three that we're reviewing today. I'm sure there's more. Maybe there's more of them, more of the specific types of artists, but these are the ones I've found so far. So yeah, if you zoom in, and you will see less definitely line work, and even if there's like a line, sometimes it's a painted line, so it's not, you can't really identify it as like an inked drawing or a pencil drawing. It's more it's just painted in. Like you're not defining an edge. For example, for this armpit, if you just zoom in here, okay, it's not a pencil sketch or a pencil drawing. It's not an inked or a darker pencil drawing. It's just it's still a line, but it's painted in. Do you follow? And sometimes you'll see that in a lot of anime types of artwork where maybe they will color in the original line through a locked pixels setting, or they'll make a new clipping a layer and then color from there, or sometimes they'll just paint over the line, but they won't necessarily erase it. They'll just kind of make sure the indentation is there to define where something begins and where something ends. For in this case, it's going to be this bicep, and there's going to be a line in between, and then that will tell you which is the bicep and which is the back torso part, or the place underneath the armpit and lats, right? So I think when it comes, if there is line work, because there is very minimal, although minimal, it's painted in, I think, or usually painted in, at least when it comes to Dingu's work, and definitely more background elements. It's not just like, it's more for wallpaper art, right? Because it doesn't just have like a plain white background. Now in this case, the background is fairly simple. It's a gradient. Oh wow, is this a boat or a ship? That's so interesting. Oh wow. Let me just zoom in. Interesting. It's kind of like a space pirate, right? Oh, you can see it gets repainterly with the blood effect here. Very interesting. It's more impressionistic, right? And you can hardly see, like, I don't think this was drawn. This was just painted in for the most part. So this is where you can be a bit more flamboyant and creative. But obviously, if you're doing like this character, you do definitely, I think, have to draw it in, at least the basic lay-in, and then from there you can just use your painting experience to render it out. And again, it looks very textured, not in the way that, you know, you're using some kind of texture brush, but it's more because it's painted finely. If you really find a way to zoom in, you can eventually see the brush strokes, right? Now this one does look a bit fuzzy, like the edges are not as sharp, and maybe that's why it contributes to that pastel look. Because when it comes to pastel drawings or paintings, you will see the edge, but it's a bit like faded out and blurred to an extent, because it's not like a clean cut edge, right? So yeah, let me just see more. This one's more, yeah, it's the same. Shit, there's so much detail with the armor. But yeah, so let me just see the entire portfolio again, and you know, close the say my final closing thoughts. Yeah, it's still under the character design, character art field. I think this chick and this chick would have to be my favorite, and maybe this one is okay too, but it's a bit too colorful. I'm more dark, and kind of like, I feel like these darker characters are a bit more my vibe, you know, like this is kind of like a badass. Oh, is that a scar? Ooh, you know, like, ooh, like I feel like I was gonna say dominated, but I don't know. But yeah, so that's it for this art review of Dingu. Check out the last two artists I reviewed, and I will link them in the description box below. Obviously, I will also be linking the works of Dingu, the ArtStation portfolio or profile, and the Twitter page. I don't see, there are some sketches too, but I think they're included too in the ArtStation. But there's not as much sketches compared to, say, Sang Nam Lee's profile. But it's still nice. It's still nice to see, and I definitely suggest you give these folks a follow. So there you go. This is the art review of this specific style, and I recommend you study each one because they're going to have a slight difference. I've discussed some of those elements here in this review, and yeah, so I'll see you in the next art review. Bye.